Hi everyone, I'm Lynn of Made with Lynn, and today I'll be showing you how to create this crocheted Kindle case. This Kindle case opens up like a book. You can still charge your Kindle and press any buttons you need, and it's a little sturdier than a regular crochet case would be. I chose to embroider on the front cover, but you can leave it as is, just that crochet look. If you do choose to embroider your case, I would recommend getting a scrap of fabric that you can glue onto the back just to cover up all your embroidery ends. It includes different parts such as creating the front and back cover, creating the spine, creating this portion which will hold your Kindle in place, as well as attaching everything together. The embroidery part, I am not very good at embroidering, so keep that warning in mind. I did not really show much of the embroidery part, but I will show you how to paste this on as well. This is my first YouTube video, so hello world. I'm very excited to be sharing some of my crafts and DIY with you guys. Keep that in mind. Please be very kind in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message or a comment and I'll be happy to help out. So if you like this, go ahead and give me a follow because I've got so many more creative ideas that have never been done before. The materials that you will need is 1 skein of weight 4 yarn. I used cotton yarn. You'll need a 3mm crochet hook, really any crochet hook that will fit through your mesh holes. You'll also need plastic canvas. I used 5 mesh. You'll also need embroidery floss, any colors, scissors, a needle, fabric fat quarter. This will cover up the back of the embroidery. And you'll need fabric Mod Podge, and you can use a paintbrush or a sponge. Start by measuring your Kindle against the plastic mesh. I made an initial cut and then cut evenly across following that initial cut. You will want it to be slightly bigger than your Kindle. As you're cutting your plastic canvas, make sure to create a smooth edge to avoid any of those little plastic ends poking out of your project. Once you have created your first plastic square, that's your front cover, go ahead and make a second one at the exact same measurements for the back. I sandwiched my Kindle between the front and back pieces of plastic mesh to see the height of the spine. The spine is also going to be the same length as the front and back. Think of a book spine. By this point, you should have 3 pieces of plastic mesh. One will be the front cover of your Kindle cover, one will be the back, and one will be the spine. Get your front cover, yarn, and crochet hook ready, and starting at the bottom of your plastic mesh in the very bottom right corner space. You're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop of yarn through the space. You're going to skip the space directly above it, and in the next one, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through both the space and the loop on your hook. Next, still on the bottom row, you're going to insert your hook into the space next to the first one, yarn over, pull through, skip one above it and into the one above that, yarn over and pull through the space and the 2 loops on your hook. So we're really working with the bottom 3 rows. On the bottom row, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up, skip 1 row above, and then in the next row, you'll insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. Once you've reached the end, you'll cut your yarn, tie it off. For the next row and all the remaining rows, you're going to insert your hook into the first stitch made at the very top, so it should be the 3rd row. So you'll insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, skip the row above it, and in the row above that, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the 2 loops on your hook, and continue across. The second row is finished, and you can see it's starting to kind of look like how crochet looks. So I will go ahead and cut that in. And tie it off, fasten it off. Looking pretty good. So you'll just repeat those steps throughout up till the end. I'm just going to keep playing this portion where you can see how you insert into the previous row, skip a row above, and in the row above the one you skipped, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. It is a little difficult to explain how you do this, so I'm hoping that the visual aspect will help you as you create yours. For this final row, since there is not a third row here, you're going to be working on top of the last row. It might be a little tricky at first to keep the first loop you make where you want it to be, but later on we'll be working a border around, which will keep everything in place. Continue with the same thing you've been doing for all the previous rows, where you insert into the previous row's stitch, yarn over, pull through the mesh and the stitch, then skip the last row, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on the hook, working on top of the last row. Okay, we have finished that top row. I'm gonna cut it off and secure it, making sure leave that edge on top of the plastic here, if you can see. And now we have a nice edge. So what I'm going to do next is, you notice we have a whole bunch of strings. I'm just gonna tie these in little knots so these don't come loose anymore. This side's already fastened off. So now we're going to be working a corded edge around the whole piece. And so this is a little different than regular crochet because instead of working right to left, we're going to work left to right and work a single crochet entirely across, just backwards. So here I'm going to insert, I turned it sideways just to start on this little corner here. I'm still not sure if I want to keep this edge here, so I'm going to leave that there for now. And we'll attach the yarn here, yarn over, pull through, and I'm just gonna work over these stray strands as well. And so you'll insert into the next hole if you can, yarn over, pull through, there we go, yarn over, pull through, 2. If you'd like to weave these in, you can. I don't mind it. It makes it a little denser. Up to you. Here, push through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. That next square, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and you'll just continue that. So here again, push through that square, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Just keep doing that all the way across. Over, pull through 2. And it looks a little messy right now, but it will end up looking very pretty. Okay, now it's got that corded edge, quite cute if you ask me. And I'm just gonna work that corded edge around the corner. So when you get to that corner piece, I'm going to do it 3 times. So I did it once, repeat, this is 2, and then 3. 3. And now it should wrap around the corner, and you'll just continue across here. And then instead of going into the plastic part, I'm just going into that top seam. So you're going to single crochet backwards across each edge. So you've just finished your short edge, and you're going to put 3 backward single crochets into each corner to round it out. And you'll repeat that throughout the entire border edging. So that was 3, and then I'm going to continue backward single crocheting across the second long edge. So now you should have 3 corded edges, and you'll be coming up on your last corded edge. It should be the short one on the bottom. You're going to trim off that last row of plastic and try to get it as short as you can. You don't want those little plastic things poking out. In this footage, you can tell that mine are a little on the longer side, and I did eventually go back and trim those even shorter. Once you've cut that last bit of plastic off, you're going to continue across with your backward single crochets, except you're going to be inserting your hook into that middle row that you skipped originally, since your first row has been cut off. After you finish that final edge, you're going to continue by placing 3 backward single crochets in that last corner space. Once you've put those 3 backward single crochets in that last space, you're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet that you created. So here you can see me putting my last 3 backward single crochets, and then find your first stitch you created. It might be a little tricky to get your hook into it, but you will slip stitch to that. And then you can trim off any edges that are poking out. Once you've fastened off, you can thread through that last string you have and just hide it underneath the rest of the corded edge. And the nice thing is you can be a little messy with it, and the corded edge is very, very forgiving. Now you have finished one cover for your Kindle case. So go ahead and repeat those steps on the back cover as well. Next, I'll be showing you how to do the spine. The spine is going to be just like the covers, except we're going to be working long ways. So insert your hook into that bottom right space, yarn over and pull your yarn through. Skip that middle row, and in that top row, the third row, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through both the mesh and the loop on your hook. For that first space, I'm actually going to insert my hook into that same space again and repeat, yarn over, pull through, and insert into that top row, yarn over and pull through the 2 on the hook, just to create a better edge. And then repeating across, insert your hook, yarn over, skip the middle row, and in the top row, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through both the mesh and the 2 loops on your hook. Repeat this all the way across to the end. We've reached the end, and we're going to cut. And fasten it off. Bless you. Much like that top edge on the cover, you're going to insert your hook into the previous row's stitch, except for this time we don't have a row to skip. So you're going to insert your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull up loop, and yarn over, pull through that loop, and then single crochet into that same space. And then all the way across, you're going to single crochet, inserting your hook into the next chain from the previous row, and putting a single crochet, working on top of that last piece of mesh. So now you've finished up that edge and you're going to cut your yarn and fasten it off. Now working on the other side of the spine, you're going to insert into that middle space. You should have one row above it. Pull up a loop and yarn over, working over that top space. And then I'm going to go into that same space and just single crochet. Again, working on top of that last piece of mesh. All the way across, you're going to just single crochet. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and on top of it, yarn over and pull through 2. Your book spine should look like this. It will have different stitches. I kind of like that. I'll be putting the smaller stitch on the left side so it opens up. Next, you're going to be working on the frame that will hold the Kindle in place. So you're going to make a chain that will measure the bottom of your Kindle screen. For me, that was 13 chains, and in that 13th chain, I placed a stitch marker. That will be a corner. For the height of the screen, I did 18 chains plus 1, so 19 chains. In that 19th one, you're going to place your stitch marker. That will be the corner. And I continued across, so another chain 12 plus 1 for the top, and then another chain 18 plus 1 for the other side. Then you're going to slip stitch to the first chain that you made. Now it should look like a frame, and your Kindle screen should fit in it once that is stretched out. Chain 1, and in that space that you just slip stitched into, you're gonna single crochet. And you'll single crochet across each end and then put 3 single crochets into each corner. You've reached your final space, that corner space. 3 single crochet into that. And then you'll slip stitch to that. You'll skip the chain 1 and slip stitch into your first chain made. Okay, it should start to look like a little frame. Make sure everything's on the right, it's not twisted up or anything. And you'll chain 1 and repeat. And as you continue to put 3 single crochets in each corner, you'll notice it'll start growing. It's just a nice little increase to keep it square. And we will meet back. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 or 3 more rows of that. You've reached that first corner where you put 3 in. So you'll single crochet into that first one. And then in the middle one, that's where you'll put 3. And then continue across again. So single crochet in each space across, and then in the middle of the 3 you made, that's where you'll put the 3. This is what it looks like 2 rows in. So I did 4 rows of the single crochet rounds, and then I'm going to do my 5th round, except for on the bottom edge, I'm going to start double crocheting. So I'll continue with my 3 single crochet in the corner space, and then I'll go ahead and double crochet across. Once I get back to the next corner, I'm going to do 3 single crochet and then finish it off with single crochet. Until that middle of the 3, and that's when you'll start single crocheting again. So 3 single crochets into that corner, single crochet along, 3 single crochet in each corner, and then slip stitch to the first one you made. So now that you've done your rounds of single crochet, and then the final round of single crochet, and then double crochet on the bottom. It should start to look like this. So it'll frame that up pretty nice. So next, I just slip stitched my final round. You're gonna chain one, and on this next round, you're only gonna work in the back loops. So normally you would do this. Nope, not this time. You're just gonna single crochet across in that back loop. Just the back loop. And you'll still put 3 single crochets in the corner, and this will create like an edge where it can go like that. Now that you've finished your frame of single crochets, then single crochets plus double crochets on the bottom, and then a round of single crochets in the back loop only, I'm going to fasten off. Remember, this is to measurement, so keep measuring it against your own Kindle or device. So now that it's fastened off, we're going to grab one of the covers. This will be your back cover. And we're going to start by sewing the frame onto the cover. So using a tapestry needle, I'm going to pull up a great length of yarn and cut it and thread that through the needle. You can really sew it on however you'd like or prefer, but I started on the top edge and I found that corner 3 and did the one to the left of the middle chain. And then I'm going onto the cover and just pulling up 2 loops and sewing it through that. You'll want to pull it tight and then tie a knot. Go ahead and sew every stitch of the frame onto the cover. To the next. Of course, if you have a better way to sew it, by all means. I do not. So now that you've sewn it all together, it's all sewn in, all across. On the bottom, I sewed it on both ends, just enough that I could still charge it while it's in the case, or press the power button. So make sure you can fit your Kindle in it. It's kind of tight, but once it's in there, secure. It's not like the cleanest application, but it works for me. You can make your modifications as you please. We're all creative people, so do what you need to do to make that look how you want it to. And of course, we'll be embroidering, so if you'd like to embroider anything, you can. I would say just play around with how many rows you do on the frame. I will say, I think if I did 1 row less on the outside, it would have been really difficult to put the Kindle in here. If you'd like to weave in all your ends, I would do that at this time as well. Poof. Perfect. Okay, so now that that's finished, they're all weaved in. What you're gonna do is first you're gonna take this spine, pick what you want to be the back. I want that extra little piece to be back here. And you're gonna sew it in. So you see how there's a ridge? You're gonna sew it in inside that. You don't want to sew it into the hem edging. So kind of like that, kind of within it. And once you've done that, we'll meet back. Now your spine is all sewed on. Should start looking like this. you're going to sew on your top cover. And again, you'll want to sew it so it's underneath that edge, not on the hem. And there you have it. Got a nice little booklet made. Perfect for Kindle reading. It's a little flexible, so you can still do all sorts. And honestly, you could leave it there if you'd like, but I will be, let's see. Cute. Like I said, it's not like perfect. I might even embroider these little corners down. We'll see. But next is the embroidery. I would really like to emphasize that I do not know how to embroider. What I did is I got a really long piece of string, threaded through the needle, and tied a knot at the end. Then I stuck the needle through the back of the cover, so the knot is on the back. Then I pushed the needle through the front of the cover, creating a line, creating an image. And now that my needle was on the back, I pushed it through the space in between the two pieces of thread tied together underneath the knot and tied it tight. And that secured our thread in place. And then I just continued on with how I was envisioning it. I just freehanded this. If you know how to embroider, you can really have some fun with this, but I am an amateur. Something to also keep in mind as you embroider your piece is that this is not like regular fabric where you can just create whatever image you see, because you're working in grids. You have to remember what's underneath all of this yarn is just a grid panel, so that really made it a little bit more difficult with the embroidery side. I'm gonna double the speed here, just so if you do want to see like kind of what I was doing, there's a visual for it, but I'm not really the best person to give directions on how to embroider. If you make this, please send me pictures. I would love to see this. This is my first YouTube video ever, so I've never really seen someone else make something that I created and designed. Also, this is just something that's very personalizable, and I would love to see any modifications you guys made or cool embroidery works you did on top of it. But this is my TikTok. You can send me anything on there. I'd be so excited to see that. So lay your fabric on top of the back of the cover and just roughly measure out just about how much fabric you'll need. I did a rough cut, and then we will do a more fine-tuned cut after the rough cut. Now that I have a rough cut of the fabric, I'm going to go in and be a little more precise with my next cut. I did not measure. You can if you'd like to. I just did it eyeballing it and trying to keep my lines straight, and that turned out just fine. Now I'm just going to use the fabric Mod Podge and paint that over the back of my piece of fabric. Once you've coated that, just an even layer. I wouldn't saturate the fabric. You don't want to use an excess of glue, otherwise you risk that glue seeping through to the front, and you don't want to ruin all the work you just put in. So just tread lightly. You can always re-glue it back on if it falls off, but you can't take away the glue once it's on there. Once you've got a good layer of glue on the back of your fabric, go ahead and press the fabric into the back of your front cover. This will cover up all your embroidery ends. I started at the top and really pressed it down. Once you have your fabric pressed into the back of the front cover, go ahead and let that dry. You have officially finished your crocheted, sewn, embroidered Kindle case. I hope you liked my design and video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, when it's made with Lynn, it's made with love. Subscribe for more.